How do you manage uncertainty and slow times? The fact that your business is up and down and cyclical, how do you manage that? Welcome to Explore Your Enthusiasm, episode 204. You are here with me, Tara Swiger. Today I'm going to answer a question from listener Christina. As a reminder, you can get your question answered by calling up the number 567-393-8272 and leaving your message. I'll then answer it in the next couple weeks. So you're going to call 567-393-8272, leave a message with your question, make sure to tell me your name and what your business is, and share a link so everybody listening can go check you out. So let's hear Christina's question.
Hi, Tara. It's Christina McGrath calling. I'm a knitting tech editor, and you've been like one of the biggest support beams of my business. And it's every single podcast just gives me more positive feedback on what I'm doing, and it makes me feel good about my choices. You've just been a huge help to me. My big question hanging over my head with my business is, how do you handle the unpredictability? Like I have a income that I can't really count on because I don't know what it's going to be, because it depends on if I get jobs and I don't know if I'm going to get them or not. So how do you handle that unpredictability and not knowing what it's going to be, and how do you safeguard against that? Anyway, thank you so much. You're so fantastic. I think it's great you're doing this show.
So first of all, Christina, I need you to recognize that uncertainty is the nature of the business. All of our businesses are cyclical, and every business has ups and downs depending on the season, on the time of the month, on the weather. There are all kinds of reasons why businesses go up and down. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your business. It is super important to understand that there is nothing wrong with your business, even if you have months that are much higher or much lower than your average. That's just part of it. So if you're feeling bad about this, you're going to, and I don't know if you are, Christina, but I get this question a lot from students. They just feel bad. They're like, oh no, I have some months that are so low. What's wrong? If you're feeling bad about it, you're going to waste your energy trying to fix it. Instead, I want you to reframe and think about it this way. Your lower months feel low because it's relative to your other months. So if you have your highest month ever, it's going to make some other month in your business look like a bad month, just because it's relative to that highest month ever. But maybe that month was a fine month when it happened. Just looking back, it seems low. Or if you put all your time and energy in making your highest month ever, often you'll have a low month right afterwards because you made tons of sales. You talked to all your customers, you did all the conversion, then you need to take a break. They need to take a break. They're not going to keep buying stuff. Unless you're a grocery store or a gas station, they're not going to buy the same level of stuff every single week from you, especially if you're a maker or an artist. So some month has to be your lowest month. That's just how it works. There's no way you can ever not have a lowest month. That lowest month usually comes right before or right after your highest month because you spent your time and your energy on a launch or a project that led to your best month. That's okay. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you or with your business. So with that in mind, that your business is always going to be cyclical, we have two sides to look at for this question. The first one side of it is making more money, and another side of it is managing the uncertainty that you're always going to have months like that. So let's first talk about how to deal with the uncertainty, and then we're going to talk about how you can look at and use knowing what you know about those months to make good decisions and make a more profitable business. So how do you handle uncertainty? You make it less uncertain. I know. What I mean by this is you track your numbers year over year so that you can see your growth and you can see how this month usually does. So the problem is a lot of y'all are tracking each month compared to its last month. That doesn't give you a lot of useful data. It's good that you're tracking your numbers at all. I really hope you are. But you want to track each month and compare it to the same month last year. That's what I mean by year over year. So you can see what March is usually like. Every time maybe it's a low month, every time maybe it's a high month. But when you start to do that, when you start to track each month, even just after your first year, you're going to start to spot the slow times, the busy times, the averages. So when I was talking about this in the Starship, someone mentioned that they often start the month with tons of jobs. So they think the month is going to be big, but then the new jobs peter out. And by the end of the month, they don't have any new jobs or they don't have any income. And it happens over and over to them. They get a bunch of sales or a bunch of clients in the beginning of the month. They're like, oh, this month is going to be awesome. Peters out by the end. But you know what? That's a pattern. That's not a bad thing. Maybe that's the pattern of your business. So that means if you get new jobs at the beginning of the month, assume that's your new jobs you're going to be getting. Instead of assuming that each month is going to be big, assume it's going to be exactly the same as the month before. So if you normally nail 5 new clients in the first week of the month and you nailed 5 new clients in the first week of this month, you're on track for it to be exactly the same. Now, perhaps you're going to keep nailing new clients, but don't do your budgeting and your spending assuming that this is a sign it's just going to be big and awesome. In general, you want to do your budgeting and planning as if every month is a lower than average. So plan your spending as if it's going to be a normal month, and then you're going to be delightfully surprised when it's above what you expected. So the first step in dealing with this uncertainty is to track what's actually happening. So you're not just going off your feelings. Because often what I hear from people when they keep up with the monthly reviews in Map Your Business, my book Map Your Business, you can find it on Amazon, it has monthly reviews in it, like a chance for you to look and review the last month. What people tell me most often is that they are most surprised by how well a month went because it felt bad. It might have felt awful, but the actual numbers and experiences were amazing. So I want to make sure that you are looking at the reality of the month, not what it feels like based on your own expectations or what you were comparing it to in your own head, but what it actually was. That's the number one key for dealing with any uncertainty in your business, is to look at what's real and to keep track of what's real month over month. So the next step is to handle your spending and budgeting accordingly. Plan your spending on the lowest month you have, not the best possible case scenario, because that's where you're going to get into trouble. So if you have made more money the first week of the month, but you always make less money at the end of the month, you don't want to spend that money as soon as it comes in. You want to keep it, you want to save it for those slower weeks. This goes for business spending or personal spending, okay? So like if you've been wanting to buy something for your business and you have an awesome week, chill, relax, hold on, see what happens. Now, you have the third step is to look at your high and your low months and make decisions from that information. So where do you make money? Where do you want to make more money? When do you make money? From whence does that money come? Now, you always have 2 ways to make more money in your business when it comes to thinking about your high and your low months. The first is to raise your slowest months, basically improve what's not doing well. Focus your effort on creating more income in the slow months. The second option is to go all in on your best months, make them even bigger. Typically, you're going to cycle through these plans, like improving your low months, going all in on your high months, but you can't. In very few businesses, especially if it's just you, it's hard to do all of it all of the time. So it really helps if you narrow it down and then you pick one. What am I going to focus on for the next 6 months? Improving my low months or making my higher months even higher and then having that money in the low months. So how should you decide what you should do? I have a couple suggestions. The first is to be realistic. And by that I mean look at what's really happening. Look at where your income actually comes from in those highest months. Look at what your best months of 2017 were. Is there a reason those months made more money? Think about everything you did. Look through your individual sales. Where did that money come from? In my own business, it's really obvious. A month where Creative Live and my publishers pay their royalties, which is every quarter, the month that those royalties come in, they're going to be higher than the other months. Not a lot I can do about that. I can't spread that out because they're going to pay their royalties when they want to pay their royalties. So that reason is kind of out of my control. Now, I can go all in on getting more bigger royalty checks from them by promoting the classes and books that cause them to pay me royalties, or I can look at other income streams that are outside of that. But just acknowledging, oh, that's why that month is a big month. It's not because sales were particularly high, it's because I got a check I don't usually get. Or when I do a teaching gig and they pay me for the teaching gig, those are higher months. So I could focus on raising my base income, but those royalty months, no matter how I raise my base income, those royalty months are always going to be higher, which is an awesome thing. That's not something to be upset about. Sometimes people tell me like, I'm so upset that month was so out of alignment with all the other months. I wish all the months were like that. Well, dude, be thankful you hit a high month. Now you know you can get there and you know what gets you there. So I could focus on raising my base income, or I can focus on increasing that royalty. So for you, That higher months might be because a publisher buys a pattern. If you sell your pattern to magazines, it might be because you do a big launch. It might be because you do a craft show. That's a big craft show. And you're going to have a higher month when that happens. So you can't really spread that out. But what you could do is you could add more of those big paydays into your lower income months. Maybe you sell patterns every month. Maybe you do more craft shows. Or you can go all in and make that craft show a bigger payday. Get a bigger space, bring more products, go all in on it. Or you can increase your slow months by focusing on an income that comes from a totally different area. That's why it's important to notice, where did the income come from in those high months? Do I want to increase that? Do I want to increase some other income streams? So that's why I say you have to get clear on where those high months are high, and then ask, do I want to go all in on the income stream that makes them higher? Or do I want to look at my other income streams and increase them? So maybe it's not an outside reason that your month is doing well. Maybe your high months are because you launched something. And this, by the way, is why I recommend doing a real launch. You can make high months better by going all in on a launch. I talk about how to do this in episode 162. You're going to find it linked up in the show notes, and you can also find it however you're listening to this. Scroll back to episode 162, which is called, I think it's called How to Launch Anything, or How to Launch Your Next Product or Pattern. So if that's why your month is high, then your question is, do you want to make the launches bigger and more successful? Or do you want to focus on creating consistent income when you're not launching? Now, you're going to go back and forth between these two in the life of your business. It's not always one, it's not always the other, and neither is right. Both are going to increase your business, but you want to focus your energy on something, as opposed to having it scattered all over the place, just generally hoping your business improves. Now, I find that among people who really value stability, and that's something not everybody has the same need and desire for, but among those who really value stability, it's easy to default in spreading out their income into making every month the same instead of going all in. By doing this, they shy away from ever going all into launching something, and they never have a real high. That way they don't have a low, and they don't really do a big push that takes your business to the next level. And this can be a problem. If what you want is just for every month to be the same, people get in this habit of well, I'll just do this one thing consistently forever. And their business never scales up because they're not pushing towards a big kind of scary, overwhelming, huge push goal. And now you don't need to be pushing all the time in your business, but by avoiding a goal like that, by avoiding a launch like that, you're also avoiding seeing what your sales could be, seeing how many people you could reach, seeing how many sales you could make. So their desire for stability and consistency leads them to not seeing major growth because they never go all in on making one month really, really good. And the reason they don't is because they think, well, if I'm going to make that month really, really good, the month before it might be kind of low because I'm spending all my focus on that launch that's coming up, or the month after it might be kind of low. Yeah, that's part of it. Like I said, you have to understand your business is going to be cyclical. You're going to invest a lot of energy in some months and then not in other months. That's going to be okay. So the thing is, whatever your industry, some months are just always going to be slow. So then your question is, what do you want to do in those slow months? Do you want to spend your energy improving the slow months and working really hard? Or do you want to grow the months where people are in the mood to buy and maybe rest in the slow months, or take it easy in the slow months, or do some behind the scenes stuff in the slow months? Now, one of my favorite examples of making the most out of a slow month is actually from a big business. So Red Lobster, it's a restaurant, if you're not familiar. In February, they do Lobster Fest. So February is the slowest month for the restaurant. It is in the restaurant business across the board. So Red Lobster created Lobster Fest, which is their way of doing this huge marketing blitz during their slowest month and creating all these promos to get people into the door. So, and they've seen a massive uptick in February that is not normal for the industry because they go all in on Lobster Fest. And if you want to improve your slowest month, you think, how could I create a Lobster Fest in my business? What could I do that would be a Lobster Fest for my business? Now, I don't eat or like lobster, but it's a good example. Somebody going real crazy with the promoting a slow month. If you are still wondering, I don't know, Tara, should I take time off in the slow months? Should I work harder in the slow months? What should I do? Where should I spend my energy? I will put on my bossy pants and I will tell you what I think you should do. So here's what I advise most new businesses. And if you've been in business 10 years and you haven't done these steps yet, start right now. 1, get consistent making and listing your work for sale. because nothing's going to sell if it's not in your shop. If you don't have 50 to 100 things in your Etsy shop, get consistent making and listing. And then second thing, once you're doing that, get consistent in your marketing, sending an email list. Even if you have 2 subscribers, those 2 people want to hear from you. Then get consistent with your Instagram. Then after you're consistent with your emails and your Instagram, you can worry about the others. But once you're doing that regularly, which might be 3 or 4 months in to you getting consistent with making and listing and marketing, then do a launch. You can listen more about how to do the launch in episode 162, which is linked up in the show notes, but do a launch. Okay, so you got consistent, then you do a big launch, a lot of energy. Then focus on launching every other month or every 3 months is what I see a lot of my clients doing, that this has really grown their business. And then you want to just stay consistent in the non-launch months on some basic platforms that you're always going to be consistent in. For most people, that's emails and Instagrams. Some people only do their emails when they launch. That's fine too. But get 1 or 2 platforms where you're showing up all the time, even when you're not launching. Connecting with your customers, connecting with your audience. Once you've done that for a couple more months, a couple more cycles, look back at your numbers. Which month did best? What can you do to make it better in the future? And what month did worst? Do you want to even do anything that month? Do you want to do a lobster fest, or do you just want to rest? Like, I know the months that are lower in my businesses are months where your kids are home from school because you don't have time to take online classes or buy online books. So I just chill. I often take a couple weeks off in June or July, off from, launching, selling. I still usually do the podcast, and I go see my family, because that's months that even if I did a big push, my audience doesn't want to buy the thing I sell. So I just chill. So you can choose to rest, you can choose to work hard, but that outline, like the first, getting consistent, and then doing the launches, and then going back and figuring out where's a slow and fast month, that will help you get started. So I hope that this helps you make your business less uncertain, and it increases your overall sales. That's what I really want for you. If you didn't know any of the numbers I talk about tracking, if you don't know your sales, if you don't know your profit margins, if you don't know how much you want to earn each month, check out my class, Pay Yourself. So I walk you through finding out your profit margin, your break-even point, how to budget for what you want to earn. We cover all that. You can find it at taraswiger.com/pay, taraswiger.com/pay. It's a class, Pay Yourself. It is where all of this comes in. So if you'd like me to answer your question on the podcast, just give me a call, leave a message, 567-393-8272. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you have a profitable and enthusiastic day.